Okay, so our last set of pages, or the last page for today's class, is musical form. We're talking about one specific type of organizing your notes, not in terms of harmony and melody so much, although it's going to be reflected in the way we compose, as you will see in a second. But the overall musical form, or the type of music called the prelude. And prelude is something that really fits in situations where you want to have an opening, where the musical structure is not so important. There is no really like a gripping theme that you want to be able to whistle. There's no second theme. There is no really development, or it doesn't have a structure of chorus and verse and chorus, or any of the other musical analysis or musical form that might appear in other musical pieces. So what is a prelude? It's kind of free-flowing, a little bit more of an improvisatory type of music. And I provided here some examples of preludes in games. The Final Fantasy prelude is really a very classical musical piece. And I want to just kind of to draw the analogy and understanding that prelude is an old musical form, and the relation between the contemporary music or the music in games where we use prelude and something which is like classical John Sebastian Bach's prelude from so-called Well-Tempered Clavier, which is a book with 24 preludes and fugues. It's really very, very much related to people who compose for games are often composers that can span the range of styles and genres. So how does a prelude look like? Well, I mean, in some sense, listening and getting a musical impression is great. Keeping in mind that we can compose with chords and melodies, prelude is really what makes that relation in some sense easy to understand. And this is the idea that you have these notes. Let me just play a short segment of prelude. So what we see here is basically that these are broken chords. You have two hands. It's true that he's holding longer a couple of notes on the bass, so maybe this one is really more of a bass, but the rest are, he could have played everything together with his right hand, just like these notes all will sound together, but it won't be this beautiful prelude where you have this kind of a waving music, this kind of animation of these clouds going up and down. It's kind of what the feel this music gives you. So you can think about this as chord first method, because this is really a very clear chord progression, but we don't want to stay with the chords. We break them into these musical lines going up and down. Sometimes he changes them, and these are the arpeggios. So the idea that we can take a sequence of chords and slowly kind of break them into different shapes, but also change a little bit the rhythmic relations. I mean, the fact that you go, here's 3 against 2, 6 against 4, or go with this, which is 4 against 2. So the prelude not only combines these kind of colors that belong to the aggregates of the notes. So if you think about all of these notes together without really caring about how they're spaced in time, and that may be the chord, but then you have this prelude idea of breaking them into arpeggios, but also there is this rhythmic relations between, the counting of 2 versus 3, or 4 against 6, and 2 and 2, or 4 and 2. You have everything there. You have the rhythm, you have harmony, you have melody, but actually melody is not really so important. It's almost impossible to sing the melody. You might think maybe about the highest notes here, something that you would remember. This is not a melody. This is an arpeggio. So uh, Philip Glass and so-called minimalist in music. Okay, Steve Reich, Philip Glass. I mean, there are quite a few of American composers. This is kind of a genre that is very typical to American music. Some of this is, some people call it East Coast, but and New Yorkers. But it has been used and adopted. A very strong school of minimalist music exists in England and Europe. So one really captivating thing about minimalist music is that many films use this type of technique and style because it creates atmosphere. So this is from a film, The Hours, music by Philip Glass. Just a really short excerpt just to give you this idea of what minimalist music is, but please kind of listen and enjoy the whole piece. So even these kind of stops and breathing, right, give so much to the atmosphere. And then as we go on, you get denser and denser. A second, this is kind of maybe use scales to go up and down, and then think about how the atmosphere changes. And three against two. It's kind of like unsettling rhythm, and then suddenly, and now 2 against 2. This is maybe a melody. I mean, we can sing this, but it doesn't have really that melodic thematic material here. Okay, so yeah, kind of like listen, enjoy, and get to feel that music, but also kind of try to look at this and almost like visually explore the relations of notes, rhythms, and keep in mind this idea of what's harmony, what's melody, and what's rhythm. Uh, and having this kind of critical listening with this visualization aid or the score itself. It's not the visualization aid, it's actually the music itself notated, but I think about this as a visualization for the purpose of kind of finding the relations. All of these examples could give you some inspirations for in doing your first composition, and all you're required to do is just one segment. We don't expect you to kind of go from one type of feel, one type of prelude texture or technique to another one, but it gives you a variety of ideas. So oh, I see I missed some videos. So there are all the videos that I refer should be in the gallery. But I will go and make sure that these videos are actually linked or appear in the text. Just a couple more examples from other games, like the Great Fairy Fountain from Legend of Zelda. Just one thing to keep in mind, and this is kind of the concluding section, is that the overall idea of having this free-form flowing music that creates a mood is not limited to the prelude. It's a little bit more elaborate forms, and also depending on the type of context they're used, they're sometimes called preludes. So, the Final Fantasy prelude. So sorry, the Final Fantasy prelude is the name of a prelude, But the other forms, okay, could be either etude, okay, or kind of got confused with the words. You can have also musical fantasy. That's true. It's a less common name, but you can have so-called impromptus, which are kind of this music of the moment. You can have etude, which is also more of a fast-going, really hard to perform uh, free-form technique, and it's called etude from study because a lot of this was used really for practicing. But they also give you the same idea of notes that move all over the place, and maybe etudes are much more uh, energetic in their feel, but they kind of use a lot of the same musical composition techniques. So etudes, impromptus, there are specific names like musical moments. Vision fugitive is a specific like fleeting moments, piece by Prokofiev. Many composers created these little pieces that create a feel and mood, and I mean all of them are relevant for your first exercise, and also demonstrate the way music, uh, some music theory or music construction methods work to create that mood or that function that the music plays in the context of a game. Okay, so I hope all of these will give you some inspirations and a little bit more insight about music and how fun it is.